Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Church Security Answer Man. I've got some great guests with us today, and we're going to be talking about some stuff that you may not have thought of. The folks that might show up to your campus and want to start videotaping and kind of becoming an irritant. So I've got Michael with us today and Buddy. And Michael has had a recent incident at his church with these folks that just show up. And, you know, traditionally, I don't know about you guys, but I've dealt with these folks in law enforcement. They used to show up with the same kind of premise to courthouses and other places, government buildings, and want to go in and run rampant and videotape wherever they wanted to. So they really wreaked havoc and stuff in those environments. So I'm glad that we're able to discuss an actual incident. So Michael, if you can just jump in here and give us an idea, a little bit about your background and your security involvement and a little bit about your church, and then we'll get right into it.
Sure. I'm just a normal guy. I've been on the church safety team for, I think, 3 or 4 years, probably 4. And, you know, didn't even want to conceal carry for a while. You know, I just thought, hey, if there's a threat inside, you know, I don't want to be reaching for a gun. I've had a concealed carry for over 25 years, but that's just not what this was about. So, you know, we're just looking for anything abnormal. And this particular Sunday, a few weeks ago, I came on campus. Apparently, an off-duty safety team member had already asked the gentleman, you know, what he was doing as he was just standing in front of the church with his camera stick and his phone and obviously videoing. And then one of my off-duty or on-duty safety team members then approached and basically kindly started to, you know, conversing with this gentleman.
It's kind of an attention getter, isn't it? It's kind of an attention getter when you got somebody standing out there on the sidewalk with a camera.
Absolutely. You know, obviously the question is why. You know, so I was informed through my phone from, I think, one of the staff members that I might take a look at this, and went down and kind of relieved my team member. I didn't pay any attention to this other gentleman at first because I just sensed that he wasn't a threat. He was just a nuisance. So I just asked my teammate to check on another side of the campus, and proceeded to just not pay any attention to this individual. But then he said some key words, which they're really good at, poking and prodding. Said, "Oh yeah, now they're just ignoring me." You know, so then I had to giggle about that and turn around and started talking to him. And it kind of went from there on. He was just very provocative. He felt like he just wanted to argue. And if you started making any sense yourself, he would interrupt. I've always looked at myself as someone that I can reason with anyone that's reasonable. But that's not his point. His point is not to be reasonable. His point, I think, is just to poke and prod and get you to get down to your basic roots of how you would react, which really you either want to call the police or you want to escort this guy off the property.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what he wants.
Yeah, they want to poke and prod and try to get you to make some mistakes, and both from a legal standpoint as well as probably from a ministry or a Christian standpoint as well. You know, they'd love to embarrass you, kind of thing. So now, did this guy stay on the sidewalk, or was he out on the road, or where was this at?
He was on the sidewalk.
Okay.
And made sure to stay there, made sure to let me know that he was on the sidewalk on public property. He had every right to be there. Made comments, "Hey, this is a great old building that you have. How do you know I'm not here just to to enjoy your buildings and share those pictures with everyone. He's good at articulating confusion
Right.
for anyone that's dealing with him.
So did his poking and prodding get to you at any point, or any of your team members?
The truth for me is, of course it did. I may have looked like I was somewhat calm, but down deep, I'm just trying to do my best to not make a fool of myself, knowing that I was on camera.
Mhm.
And then you're representing the church as well. So at one point, I've said, "Hey, you're welcome to be here. You're welcome to enjoy the service that's coming up pretty soon." And then he asked if he could video there. And so I
Come
had to
inside.
pause and think about it. Sorry.
He wanted to come inside.
Yes. So again, I'm thinking just from a legal standpoint that sure you can. Now, if he makes, he's going to disturb everyone,
Mhm.
and in that situation, he'd have to stop.
Right.
But then that gets away from the First Amendment issue at hand. Now
Yeah.
he's not on private or on public property; he's on private property. So,
Yeah.
of course, he's not going to enter.
Right.
Good.
That
That
kind of
doesn't
messes up his system then,
fit. Right.
if you were to actually let him in there. So interesting. So what was the final outcome? What actually ended up happening?
I walked away, and shortly after he walked away. So that let us know, hindsight, that he didn't get what he wanted. So we were very thankful for that. We had our on duty police officer with us at the time, and of course he had his eyes on things and knew what was going on, and knew the proper thing for him to do was absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And then he explained to us, he had seen this gentleman before, and he gave us a little bit of an education. So,
I would
no
definitely encourage our viewers to go look at some of their videos. They're on there. There's one I just watched yesterday from a Southern California church where the security team member or the representative of the church ends up trying to smack the guy with the camera, and it's like, oh my goodness, just because it's so frustrating. So, and they're just messing with your emotions, and really, like what you talked about, if we just leave them alone, walk away from them, let them do their thing, it kind of deflates what they're there for. They're wanting to get a rise out of somebody.
Right.
Well, when these people show up, they always have an agenda and they know what they want to do.
Yep.
And if you take them out of their game plan, then you win. And
Yeah.
I think you did a good thing by just walking away.
Yeah. Not easy to do in the interim. So in the middle of this process though, yeah, but that's exactly it, buddy. So, so what do you think? Any words of advice for anybody else that has that? In the middle of that, how did you feel? I mean, in the middle of that, you're stressed, I'm guessing.
Stressed, and very quickly, I was just wanting to be a good representative of our church.
That's awesome.
Because very quickly, you realize that there's not a threat. He's just a knucklehead, I guess. And the bad part was that was my focus. My focus was 5 to 15 feet away from me. And we have the rest of the campus that I should be trying to focus on. I'm one of the team supervisors. So, one Sunday a month, I supervise all morning long, and we have our team members in different locations. And so he kind of like sinning will keep you away from your relationship with God. Mm-hmm. And these knuckleheads keep the security people from having the ability to do what we need to do. we'll just
Yeah.
keep our eyes on something that is abnormal.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of sympathetic because this isn't something we talk about a lot. So suddenly when you're faced with this, it could be a huge distraction, not knowing what to do. So when
Right.
really it's kind of simple, don't do anything. So
The extent of my law enforcement experience is a good college friend of mine was on the Tulsa police force for 30 years. So early on in his career, I would drive over and ride with him on Saturday nights for about
nice.
6 or 7 years. And so, of course, I've never been in the military or law enforcement. You know, I've kind of been that, should I go that route or not? You know, so I was able to watch him act and react to people. And, you know, the best ammunition is knowledge of how to deal with a situation and how to act in a way that doesn't further provoke them, no matter who they are.
Yes.
So it's just to kind of slow down, settle down. If you can watch from a distance, that's great, you know, before you get too engaged with it up close and personal. So I probably should have radioed my teammate to just ask him what's going on. And then maybe I would just have told him, hey, go to your normal post. I'll keep an eye on him. And I wouldn't have even spoken to the gentleman. You know, hindsight, that would have been the case.
Yeah. Yeah. If you knew what was going on, that's why these kind of little things, I appreciate you sharing with us and our audience here in our community, because, you know, we don't think of some of these things and they can really catch you off guard versus if we're talking about it, we can keep it in a simple format, you know, keep it in a simple little box here. So just having a discussion ahead of time about these things. So
well, thank you for sharing your lessons that you learned there. I think it's a great direction for all churches. And I appreciate your recapping things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a great learning experience. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with y'all.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Anything else you can think of, Michael or Buddy? Is there anything else you can think of?
No, I'm good, man.
Okay.
I think aside from asking, you know, how the situation was before any team member approaches an individual, get some backup.
Yeah.
Have two of you approach that individual. I think that would change things dramatically.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're definitely your tactics. We talk about that in some other videos, and that kind of stuff's important. Once you figure out it's not a threat, then you can cut somebody loose to go back to their post. But yeah, having a couple people there that's a good observation. How did you feel? Did you feel uncomfortable at all relative to your safety and stuff when you're dealing with him, or?
No, not with this individual.
Okay.
It was very quickly. You knew there was no threat. It's when you aren't sure yet.
Yes.
That's when you don't know what to be ready for.
Yeah. Yeah. So I encourage everybody to have a quick conversation about this. If you look at across our nation, it doesn't come up a ton, but this is a great discussion to have because we can find ourselves in some serious trouble if we're out doing the wrong things with these folks that are trying to test us and maybe even trying to sue us over something. So it's a good conversation to have and discussion about this. So thank you so much, Michael, for sharing with us. Buddy, thanks for being here. Those of you that don't know Buddy, maybe you see Buddy off and on in a lot of our chats and those kind of things. He's one of our team members and one of our moderators. So I appreciate you, Buddy, for being here. So, okay, well, that's all I have for today. And I want to certainly recommend that you watch for more information on this from us. I'm hoping to have John on here soon to give us a little bit more communication stuff from his general response team. So we'll look for that in the near future. But thanks again for joining us. And I certainly recommend that you watch this video to give you some more information, the one that's popping up on your screen now. Thank you for joining us.